Welcome back to another episode of Just Hoop Talk. You're with Justin Henry, Will Thompson, and today we are talking Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics. The number 2 Brooklyn Nets take on the number 7 Boston Celtics. They won their play-in tournament game against the Washington Wizards. So we'll be covering everything, including talking about the strengths of these teams, the weaknesses, and predicting the outcome of this series. Make sure you like and subscribe, share the channel. We're trying to go to 1,000 subscribers. We are pushing hard on all content to give you the most relevant content for these NBA playoffs. Now, we're on to the series. Let's quickly overview this series because this Boston Celtics team is coming in a little depleted with the loss of Jaylen Brown, but also reeling off a 50-point effort from Jason Tatum there in the play-in game. We also got the Brooklyn Nets kind of piecing things together here late in the season. The big three are finally getting a chance to play together in a meaningful game. They haven't played much all year. Will, what are your initial thoughts just on this series overall? Because we got a lot of star power on one side, and then we have a mega superstar on the other.
Yeah, I think we talked about the last series being the worst case scenario for the Wizards, and I think this is the best case scenario for the Nets. They get to kind of avoid any conflict with the Washington Wizards. They get a team that's kind of coming in limping. Even though Jason Tatum had a great game in the play-in and they were able to get that 7th seed, this is a team that is on a downward slide, being the Boston Celtics. There's things going on within the organization, questions about the coach, questions about the GM, questions about individual players and their ability to stay healthy and longevity with the franchise. There's a lot going on with the Celtics right now, man. And to me, they look like a team that's ready to fall apart. I think Jason Tatum just played hero ball and saved them and saved their season. But I don't see that being something that he can do 4 times in a 7-game series or even more than once in a 7-game series, man. I think this is a tough matchup for the Celtics. The Nets present a lot of problems because they have length. They have guys who can get out and contest shots with Jason Tatum, and that can contest around the basket with Jason Tatum. They're not a great defensive team, but they have good individual defenders that can make things difficult for him. And so now you're relying really on the other guys for the Celtics, and I just don't see it, man. A great situation for the Nets to get healthy, get acclimated together, and see really what they have. So best case scenario?
Maybe. And so we talk about this team, and the Nets team obviously hasn't had a chance to play together. And like you said, they get to kind of oil the machine before the playoffs get going against a team that is kind of reeling. And you talk about this Nets team, and one of the things that they have, obviously, they're not lacking star power. We talk about guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin. They're going to come in and make a difference, and I think these guys know what's at stake for this season. This is a championship or bust type season for these guys. And when you talk about the Boston Celtics, it's a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth because they wonder if they went up in this matchup with Jaylen Brown, if it wouldn't be a different series. It wouldn't be a different series. They're just getting Kemba back a little bit healthy now. Marcus Smart is finally healthy again. They're starting to get Evan Fournier back into the fold. It's like you want to see that. You would have loved to see the series at full health. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that. But Jason Tatum is emerging as a star. The only thing with him is his consistency. And we know in the playoffs he tends to get hot. So are we going to see that? And I think the one thing we saw against the Wizards that let the Celtics even get to this position is that they had no answer for Jason Tatum.
Right.
When I look over at the Brooklyn Nets team, I see a guy that's the exact same size that can defend him really well in Kevin Durant. And so I think he's going to cause a little bit of nightmare problems for Jason Tatum. I just don't see the second superstar that adds up to either James Harden or Kyrie Irving, what you absolutely need in these playoffs. So let's talk a little bit about the strengths of these teams before we get into our predictions and talk a little bit about where they may fall. I think that this Nets team obviously is not lacking for superstar power. I think that they can make any big shot in any moment, whether the game is close or they need to put it away. But where I think the Celtics do have an advantage is that they're fresh. They're coming in, they're hot, they're playing in the play-in game, so they're not like they haven't taken days off. The Nets are actually coming in, they haven't played together. They have a little bit of a time off with this play-in tournament. So they might come out a little rusty, whereas we're going to see the Celtics firing on all cylinders. So
Yeah.
I think that could be the one area where the Celtics do have the advantage. I'm just not sure it's enough to get them through this series.
Yeah, that first game is going to be interesting, right? The Celtics should be fresh. They should be feeling pretty good, and the Nets are going to be really cold, kind of trying to figure it out. What I'm looking for in this series from the Nets in particular is I think we know James Harden's going to play well. We know Kyrie's going to play well. We know KD's going to play well. I think we know that those three guys are going to put up points and put up buckets. I think what remains to be seen is how the other guys fit in and how it all works and makes sense. Like, how does Joe Harris fit in? How does Jeff Green fit in? Blake Griffin, those types of guys, because those are going to be the difference makers for this team, right? Like, we know these three guys are going to go do their thing. Can these other guys be effective? Can Joe Harris continue to be effective, find his spots, knock down shots for them? Can Jeff Green continue to attack the basket, finish around the rim, be effective defensively? Can Blake Griffin, resurrect his career and become athletic and rebound the ball and be able to finish down low? Can these guys contribute? Nick Claxton, because I think this is a huge series for them. They obviously they want to beat the Celtics, but I think they really want to prepare for what's to come. Like, they got to be ready. They didn't have the entire regular season to get ready for the playoffs. They have to get ready for the playoffs in the playoffs. So this is going to be a huge opportunity for them to figure things out on the fly, man. It's going to be interesting for this team.
Yeah, you talk about deficiencies. One of the things that this team does lack is some presence down low. Like, they really just, like DeAndre Jordan, Nick Claxton, those guys aren't really scaring anybody when it comes to being, offensively. And when you notice this team, also like the coaching, man. You talk about Steve Nash, first time in the playoffs. Obviously, he has an extensive coaching, coaching help with Mike D'Antoni and the rest of the players there. But this is his first coaching experience. So with this new rotation, we've had KD out of the lineup. We've had Kyrie out of the lineup. We've had James Harden out of the lineup. What are you going to do with your rotations now that all three of those guys are there? Yeah. Are you going to run them 35, 40 minutes? Are you going to get your regular rotation, your guys in there, your Joe Harris's, your Nick Claxtons? What kind of minutes are those guys going to be seeing? So it's like we really have to see what they come out with. Do they come out with, hey, we're running our superstars for the entire game? Mm-hmm. We run them at 2 at a time, 1 at a time, 3 at a time. Like, there's a lot that goes into that, and fine-tuning that during the regular season, which we didn't really get to see the Nets have an opportunity to do. And we saw that, obviously, you like to think you go back to the big three with the Miami Heat, and they struggled for a while figuring a lot of that out. So unless they come in and they're just used to playing ball together and they'll figure it out, that's going to be a tough ask for them in game one. But one of the counterpoints for that for the Celtics is that they're not the team that can match up with them down low. That's the one thing they don't have. If they were going to expose the Nets for not having any down low presence, the Celtics are not the team for that. So I think this does play into the hands of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I think too. There's a lot of question marks for them defensively, for the Nets and playing their team defense and team defensive schemes. I look at them individually and I feel like they have enough guys to be a good defensive team. They haven't put it all together, and people underestimate how important experience is defensively as well, right? Everyone talks about, they got to get on the court, they got to fill each other out and spacing on the offensive end, but it's huge defensively too. Like, these guys have to understand each other's like defensive strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to develop on the fly as well, man. So they got to get better defensively. They got to figure out, like you said, their rotation, because it's only going to get tougher after this round. So this is a huge, huge series for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. I'll roll with my prediction first on this one. I do like the Nets to take this series. Obviously, I think obviously it's the front runner matchup. I could say all the superstars are there. I think they take it. The superstar power will prevail in this matchup. I do have it at 4-1 though. I think that the Celtics are able to get one game, and if they do, it has to be game one.
Yep.
I think if this team gets a win, it's going to be game one. And if they do, they actually have a puncher's chance in this series. I think that if they can get game one and knock the Nets a little bit off course, I think that they do have a puncher's chance to at least extend this series out to 6-7 games. My prediction is in 5, though. I think the Nets will figure this out. I think that they will. myself for a minute. There we are. We're back.
There we go. Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So 4-1 I got the Nets 4-1 over the Celtics.
I'm with you. I have the Nets 4-1 as well. I think the Celtics have a chance to steal game one. And that'll really be interesting, man, to see the Nets. How do they react to that? How do they react to a little bit of adversity? How do they react to getting hit in the mouth? There's so many different personalities and mental types on this team. This is going to be interesting. I think game one will be the most intriguing game of the series.
Yes.
So that'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to that.
It will. We definitely got some good basketball there. There. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Who you got? Celtics fans, are you gonna win more than one game, or are we looking at a sweet one-game series? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And Nets fans, is this coast time, or are we gonna see some trouble? Talk to us in the comments.
Yeah.
Check out our other playoff preview series. We're previewing every single series for this NBA playoff 2021 season. Make sure you like, subscribe. Just Hoop Talk, another edition of the books. We're out.
Sir. Peace.